The Apple tax is a term that gets bandied around a lot. A lot. Go on any Apple forums, Apple YouTube comment section, or Apple Twitter conversation, and you'll see this brought up time and time again to try and show that when you buy an Apple product, you are paying an inflated price because Apple just demands your money. So, is that true? If we wanted to, what is the least amount of money that we could spend to get a fully functional Apple ecosystem built up ourselves? So how much? Let's find out. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. So I did end up rewriting this script a few times because originally what I was gonna do is I was just gonna add up all the cheapest things in the Apple SE line, and it was gonna come out to around $1,000. Then I was gonna dunk, call it a day. That's not a dunk. I was gonna dunk and call it a day. But I think we can do better. I think we can build an actual functional ecosystem for a little bit more money, but it will actually be budget and not cheap. I do consider budget to be quality for less money and not just the cheapest, because cheap is just the cheap stuff that you buy and then it breaks within a couple of days. Cheap is bad, budget is good. So this is budget, not cheap. And for today's budget, let's aim for $1,500, which yes is high, but when you consider that's roughly the cost of a productivity laptop by itself, MacBook, Dell XPS, high-end Lenovo, etc., it's not unreasonable. The way we're gonna lay out this build is to set up things that I use on a daily basis and see how we can get that functionality for the least amount of money. We'll need some kind of main computer, some kind of phone with cellular service, headphones for audio conferences and working on the go, and the last one that we could potentially do without, but we won't, is the Apple Watch. If you haven't done if you don't work in a professional setting and you haven't done a lot of business meetings, it's way more acceptable to check your watch for notifications than to keep looking at your phone during a meeting. Please. If you are starting out in an office job, please do not constantly check your phone in a meeting unless you really don't care about the relationship of whoever is conducting that meeting, or you don't care about your job so much. Nobody likes people that stay on their phone the whole time during a meeting. Don't do it. And when it comes to the Apple Watch, I run a lot. That's indispensable to me. We're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it in here. So the very first thing on this list is the main computer, and this will eat up the majority of our budget, and it will be the central hub around which everything else will work. Obviously, if you've been watching over the past couple of weeks, the iPad Generation 8 just dropped, and we're going to use this. This is the iPad. We're gonna use this as our central computer in its 128 gigabyte configuration. When it comes to work, 32 gigabytes just isn't enough. And an iPad, you can't get any work done on an iPad, right? Right, can't you? Gary, can you get any work done on an iPad? Yes, you can. You're wrong, other Gary. You can get all sorts of work done on an iPad. Main benefits we'll get from this iPad. If you want to see more in-depth coverage, check out the link at the end of this video and you can see more about this iPad. But what you get in this is an A12 processor, which is actually a pretty darn powerful processor, 128 gigabytes of storage. You'll get iMessage, AirDrop. You'll also get the full Apple productivity suite included with no extra money needed. Email, notes, numbers, Keynote, etc. And full Bluetooth support for both keyboard and mice. And this computing package, not this keyboard is just here as a stand, but this computing package will come in at $429. But let's throw in a few key accessories like a backpack, keyboard, mouse, and stand. That will lead us to around $500 for the overall computing package. And that would say, of our $1,500, we're a third of our budget's gone, but I think we're off to a pretty good start. Let's compare this. Let's say we're gonna buy a laptop instead of an iPad. Let's buy a MacBook. And if you were gonna spend a little bit more, and by a little bit I mean a lot, on a traditional computer, what would the extra price be and what would the advantages be of that laptop versus this setup we just built? So let's aim for one of my favorite MacBooks of the year, the base model MacBook Pro 13. That base model on its own will run you around $1,200-ish depending on the additional specs or sale prices that you're able to find. In that machine, you'll get a quad-core i5, 256 gigabytes of storage, 8 gigabytes of RAM, Mac OS instead of iPad OS. Plus you do get all of those other really cool benefits we mentioned for the iPad like iMessage, AirDrop, the full suite of productivity. So for $800 more, $100 more. You could buy a second iPad set for that. You get basically the equivalent power, a little more storage, and yes, you do get more RAM, but in this case, when we're comparing iPads, RAM doesn't actually matter all that much, but you lose out on touchscreen and pencil support. And if you like interacting with your device more, that could be pretty big. This is really why I use my iPads for my daily work, because one, they cost less than an actual computer, and for word processing, scheduling, content consumption, they just work better and they work faster. If you haven't tried working on an iPad yet, I highly recommend it. Sure, I do use my MacBooks and computers for specific tasks when I need them, but if I didn't make YouTube videos, the iPad would literally be my only computer. Next up, okay, we got the computer out of the way. Next up in the budget ecosystem, we'll actually need some way to communicate with the outside world, and we'll need a way to provide connectivity to our computer/iPad. Which brings us to another device that I've been talking up a lot recently, as I've been using this as my primary phone for those very rare cases when I actually go to leave my house. This is the iPhone SE from 2020. This thing might be the best deal on this whole list. If it's that good, Gary, what do you get for its asking price of $399? Well, for one, you do get cell/internet connection. You get an A13 processor, yes, even stronger than the iPad. You get iMessage again, AirDrop, and now we're sharing between devices. You get a decent camera if you are creating social media or mobile content, 64 gigabytes of storage base, and my personal favorite, Touch ID. Oh, I love Touch ID. That's a fantastic lineup. I still love everything about this phone, and I love talking. It makes me so excited to talk about this phone because it's incredible. And yes, I'm excited to see what the iPhone 12 lineup has, like that potential 12 mini that could be coming out. But as of right now, the SE is one of the, if not the best phones currently on the market. So, okay, you've got the best budget phone. If we're gonna go all out and get the best iPhone, as of today, who knows what'll happen in the next month, we could get the iPhone 11 Pro. I don't even own the iPhone 11 Pro, like normally. That phone will run us $999 right off the bat for its lowest model and spec we could get. It's got the A13 processor, yes, the same processor you find here, 64 gigabytes of storage, the same amount of storage you find here. It does have much better battery life, it has a better screen, and it has an amazing camera. The Pro model has wide angle, telephoto, and standard zoom options when it comes to the camera, and it's amazing. And it does come in some different colors. And if you were looking for the best camera in the Apple ecosystem, I can't argue against the iPhone 11 line. I love the ultra wide on my iPhone 11. I use it as often as I can, and it's fantastic. That's the one weakness here, that they can only put so much in for $399. But is the camera and battery life really worth spending over twice the money? I don't know, that's a personal thing and not the subject of today's video. So moving on to the next and newest edition of the budget Apple ecosystem, which is something else that I'm very excited about, the Apple Watch SE. I'm telling you, writing out this script for this video, it's brought home to me again how awesome this budget SE line of Apple devices really are. They're fantastic. It's probably, and I've said this before, the Apple SE line is probably the best deal right now in tech, period. This is a brand new watch from Apple that comes in at $279 and has a lot of the same tech and features that the more expensive watches carry. And when you consider this against other kind of like nice watches or other smart watches, this is pretty cheap. So what do we get for our cheap money? You get an awesome Retina display, not the always-on one though. That kind of sucks. I do kind of wish this had the always-on display. In fact, it's the exact same case size with the Ion X glass display that's very comparable, if not the same thing as the brand new Series 6. You'll get a dual-core S5 processor, high and low heart rate notifications, all the other just normal like social media or messaging notifications. You get all of the fitness apps, and you can get this in both the GPS and cellular version. This is the GPS version. Now compare that to the top of the line Series 6 Apple Watch, which comes in at $399 for that basic GPS model. The Series 6 advantage is it does have that always-on Retina display, so the display always has some kind of notification on in it. It's got the blood oxygen apps, the ECG app, it's got a dual-core S6 processor, and it's got way more options when it comes to case design / finishes. Like, you can get so many really awesome looking options when it comes to the Apple Watch Series 6. And over this whole line that we're talking about today, if I had to say one of these devices was worth spending the extra money to go away from the budget and go to the top of the line, I do think the Series 6 is where I would spend another extra $129. Gary, you're treading thin ice here today, mister. That's not the point of today's video. And last but certainly not least, in the most budget way into a full Apple ecosystem are the original AirPods. This could be pretty tough as the originals are pretty specific on who they will and who they won't work for. If they fit your ears, it's great. They're fantastic and amazing. But if they don't, well, it sucks and they're unusable. So today we'll make the assumption that they work for you, because unfortunately they work for me, and I'm the one making this video. So we get to make some assumptions today that Gary is the perfect model. These will set you back $159 at the cheapest, and you can go to $199 with the version with the wireless charging case. With these, you'll get 5 hours of listening time, but the coolest part is the case itself is the charger, and it holds up to a 24-hour charge for the AirPods. The coolest part is, though, that these will pair incredibly easily with every single device that we've talked about today. I'm not going to talk much about specs so much of these beyond battery life because honestly it doesn't matter. There is another version, and that's the most expensive version, which are the Airpod Pros for $249. And the biggest difference you'll get there is you will get more fit options and active noise cancellation, which is fantastic, which is again not the point of the video. Airpod Pros. The part that really matters though is AirPods' capability to pair with anything, and they have okay microphones built into them, so you can either use them to listen to music while running with your watch, or you could use them to have a phone call on the phone, or not to be distracted or distracting while hosting a teleconference from the iPad. When these first came out, I thought they were kind of dorky, and honestly, when you're wearing them, they do look kind of dorky, but the AirPods have quickly become an indispensable part of my workflow in every facet of my life. I use AirPods more during the day than I use almost any other piece of technology. So we've seen all of the SE gadgets, the Apple Watch SE, the iPad, the iPhone SE from 2020, and the AirPods, and now we're at a grand total of $1,341.96. That includes local tax for me. So that leaves us about $160 to kit out some additional accessories to smooth everything out. That'll buy us that backpack, that keyboard, that mouse, everything that we'll need to do to combine this into an Apple ecosystem that all of us YouTubers love talking about so much. We can't go one single Apple video without talking about the ecosystem. With all of these gadgets, what can we do now? What these 4 devices really give you is some serious advantages and capability for productivity and content creation. The synergy, that's what all of this does, and that's why I recommend these 4 things. The synergy of being able to work from one, then having it instantly mirror on the other is very, very nice. You can start a conversation on your phone, move it to the iPad, and then get your notifications on the watch. You've already got access to the whole suite of Apple productivity apps with needing to spend another dime. Unless you have specific apps that you really want, then you can customize it as much as you want. But the stock apps are great. You can conduct every manner of teamwork and business management from this kit. Teleconference with any of the major apps on the iPad, message and sync with teammates with the iPhone, and get all of your notifications without distracting anybody on the Apple Watch. And you can do anything requiring audio, even in busy environments or to keep your conversations private with the AirPods. And this is so good when you're doing business while traveling. This is it, team. This is legitimately the best and most budget way to get into a total professional and productivity workflow. And we did all of this, like I said in the beginning of the video, we did all of this with all of these capabilities for about the same price as one standard productivity laptop. Not bad if I do say so myself. Which I did say so myself because I'm kind of talking to myself looking at a camera right now. Wow. That got real meta real quick when you realize you're just kind of sitting down talking in your basement. But what are some of your favorite or budget ways that you know of to get into the Apple ecosystem? Leave me a comment below. I'd love to find other cool gadgets out there to make my experience even better. And if you liked this video, I bet you'd like the one where we talk about the iPad versus the iPad Pro in a little more depth. And you can find that by clicking right here. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.